All right, welcome everybody to another GoDaddy Pro meetup. My name is Marcus Burnett and I am on the GoDaddy Pro team here. Today I have a special guest to tell you all about Web3, NFTs, and their connection to WooCommerce. But before I introduce her, I just want to let everyone know that this is being recorded. So if you need to dip out early or you want to share this with your team afterwards, a replay will be available on the event page and on our GoDaddy Pro YouTube channel, and a link to that will be sent out to the email address that you registered with for this event. So you'll have that in your inbox shortly after the event, within the next day or so when we get that uploaded. The other thing is I'm going to mostly get out of the way, but I will be hanging out in the chat and collecting some questions from you. For those of us that are joining us here live in the event. And so please do leave your questions there. I'll collect those, gather those, and at the end we'll have some time for questions and answers. And I'll pop back in to help facilitate that. Without any further delay, I'd like to welcome Angela Blake, product manager at GoDaddy. Angela works on our WooCommerce products, making sure we're offering the best solutions we can for e-commerce merchants. How are you doing today, Angela?
Oh, I'm doing pretty good. It's nice to be back at one of these GoDaddy a while. Beth probably remembers me from back when we were doing those webinars a couple of years ago, so it's pretty exciting. But yeah, I used to work in community for GoDaddy Pro actually, and now I'm a product manager for the managed WordPress e-commerce product. So happy to be here.
Awesome. Yeah, if you're missing it that much, I'll definitely have you on some more. But let's go ahead and get into this one. I'm gonna go
We'll
ahead
see how
and
brave I am.
no, it'll be great. Like I said before, I'll be floating around in the chat area, so I'm gonna pop off screen, but I'll be hanging around for folks to answer questions. So I'm gonna get out of the way, and I will hand the floor over to you.
Awesome, thank you. So we're going to be covering a bunch of stuff on Web3 and NFTs and what that has to do with WordPress and WooCommerce. We're going to go over a few things that your clients might ask for, some of the current solutions that exist for those, future possibilities for you all as web designers and developers, what you can do in the future or even right now. And then after that, we're going to go ahead and do that Q&A. So please pop your questions in the chat throughout the presentation. We'll hit those up afterward. A question to Web3 for you guys. Most people probably have looked at a few things, blockchain technology, cryptocurrencies, NFTs. You've probably done a few Google searches, but for those who haven't, I need to provide a little bit of context for you just so that you kind of understand what we're talking about, what these acronyms mean, according to Beth here. So we can get into that a little bit more, but we're not going to go too deep on blockchain technology. I'm not going to explain exactly how it all works because honestly, you don't really have to know that much about it to be able to use it for websites. Web3 first. It's still being defined. So we can't really say that there's one agreed upon definition, and even Web 1 and Web 2 have different definitions based on who you ask. So on one side, people are ranking these according to centralization versus decentralization. And then on another side, people are ranking them according to level of interactivity. So just to touch base with that first, for level of interactivity, Web 1 was mostly, static web pages, very informational. And then Web 2 was when it started to get a lot more interactive, where we're having e-commerce, buying things online, social media. We're really seeing a lot of monetization with that, and people being able to, go online and erect their own online presence and things like that. And then Web3 is seen as even more interactive, where we're getting into virtual reality and things like metaverse. But what we're focusing a little more on today is centralization versus decentralization. So with Web 1, we were seeing decentralization in open protocols and things that were available for just anyone to make the web, essentially. And then it became a lot more centralized as it became monetized, and you saw a lot of the control go more into the hands of large corporations. You're starting to see government regulation and things like that. Now we're drifting back more toward decentralization with the blockchain technology, where we're being able to take some of that control back to everyday people. So blockchain is most commonly defined as an open ledger distributed across many servers. So we're basically having access only by the people with permission. And then because it's so distributed across many computers and many servers, you have a level of redundancy there that makes it very difficult for anyone to take down or tamper with that data, because it's always going to exist somewhere else. The role of AR and VR is still evolving as well. So in the future, they're believed to become the new front end of the internet. But for now, everything is still on the same websites that we've been using for years. First thing in blockchain is cryptocurrency. I know everyone has started to hear a lot more about cryptocurrencies, starting with Bitcoin several years ago. We know it's a virtual digital form of currency. I think at first we all kind of thought about it as funny money, but with the level of verification required there, it's actually almost more money. And by real money, I'm talking about, issued by governments and things like that and controlled by banks. So this can actually be exchanged peer-to-peer without the middleman, like intermediaries like banks, and that's what we call trustless. So banks are not required to exchange this. There's not a lot of regulation of it, which is why value is kind of variable with that, and why creating a new cryptocurrency or investing in cryptocurrency can be a coin toss. And yes, that's a bad joke. But the most important thing about cryptocurrency right now is its applications for e-commerce, being able to buy and sell things online. It's based on, the technology requires cryptography. You'll see up there on the slide, that's basically just encrypted communications, and it sounds a little bit foreign. Beth's gonna steal my pun. Yeah, that sounds foreign, but you guys are already dealing with SSLs, which use the same technology. Maybe not the exact same parts of that technology, but it's all dealing with public and private keys and basically verifying communications and transactions and being able to secure those. So you're already familiar with this technology on a certain level. With that being said, the no intermediary really makes it a lot easier to have faster transactions, keep the transaction fees lower, and probably the best thing of all is no chargebacks. So that's a pretty big motivator for people to start accepting cryptocurrency on their online stores. You might also see people start to go the same route as some of the larger corporations like Facebook, Walmart, Amazon, and want to create their own cryptocurrencies. I'm not thinking that's probably going to be the next few years, but probably sometime in the future, I could see applications for people creating or businesses creating their own cryptocurrencies for things like in-store credit or reward systems and things like that. So you might see that in the future. It's something to keep an eye out for. A little bit newer are the NFTs. So NFT stands for non-fungible token. And first of all, non-fungible just means that it's unique and cannot be consistently exchanged one-to-one with another. So looking back to cryptocurrencies, those are all fungible. So one Bitcoin will always be equal to one Bitcoin. Even if one Bitcoin isn't equal to one Ether, it still has a standard. One coin is one coin. But with NFTs, one NFT is not necessarily equal to any other NFT. So that's what non-fungible means. And it's going to be a digital asset that represents real world objects. It's going to be a digital file, which is why right now it's used for a lot of digital artwork. It's usually bought and sold with crypto, but it doesn't have to be. You can buy and sell NFT with, regular currencies like USD or pounds, euros, anything like that. It really just depends on the platform where that NFT is being sold and what payment methods that they accept. But most often it's Cole's cash. Saw that comment, John. Yeah, so NFTs are mostly bought with crypto, but they don't have to be. Right now, it's primarily bragging rights and collecting, and that's why you see all these very wealthy people buying up NFTs, especially the more popular collections, the more popular pieces of digital. But it has a lot more practical applications than that because these are unique tokens. You can have like a proof of ownership. So we might see them used as event tickets, or Marcus was talking the other day about the possibility of saying, okay, you've purchased entry to this event. We're going to issue this NFT for you. Now you can go on our store and that's going to give you a certain percentage off of our merchandise. So that's a very practical use as well. This tweet that I have up here on the slide is the first tweet from the CEO of Twitter, which he sold as an NFT for $2.9 million. We also see NFTs used for things like sports trading cards, crypto-based fantasy leagues, things like that. But yeah, they're good. The more practical uses are definitely going to come into play here as people become more familiar with it. And it's not just something that elite people are doing anymore. Going to take a quick water break. Marcus, yeah, and then we added it to this presentation. Actually, let me go back a couple slides here. This Nyan Cat here was also an NFT. So one point I think I want to make before moving on, though, too, is that with NFTs being digital files, you might wonder why it's even worth buying an NFT, because just anybody could screenshot and have that image file. Just anybody can do that. But NFTs are really about the proof of ownership, that private key. And then that's what really makes them unique. So when you're selling or buying an NFT, you're not buying and selling that image necessarily as much as the ownership. And that is extremely verifiable. You can't really counterfeit that as much. Like, you can take that image file and you can collect $50 from someone else for it, but that doesn't mean that they own it until you transfer that ownership, until you transfer that. And the blockchain is the one that records that. That's the piece that records actions. So that's the part you're really buying, is the ownership there. Beth, I saw your question. How is it different than a coupon? I mean, it's not necessarily really different than a certificate of authenticity. That's actually a really great analogy for an NFT. It essentially is a certificate of authenticity. But digital certificate of authenticity recorded in the code on the blockchain, distributed across thousands of servers. So it makes it like a lot easier to verify that authenticity. And it also makes it so redundant that it's really hard to erase or fraudulently transfer that certificate to someone else. So it's about the security of that ownership, is about the ownership itself. All right, so what does this have to do with your clients? What are they going to want from you out of this? I'm going to go over a few options here regarding cryptocurrency and NFT that are probably going to come up soon if they haven't already. Fraud, yeah, that's a big part of the overall purpose there. With the NFTs, pretty much I would say that's a significant piece of it. I'm sure it has other applications, but that's the main thing I pulled from it as well. All right, so with crypto, sorry, I'm still laughing at some of that stuff. I'm right there with you. I'm an old soul, so some of this stuff is it seems a little out there to me as well. Anyway, cryptocurrency. So you probably remember when you used to get requests from clients to build a social site that would be the next Facebook. They would hit you up. They'd say, "Hey, I need this website. It's going to be forums. It's going to be the next Facebook. It's the next big thing." So that seemed really silly to you years ago, probably. But now there's a rise in alternative social platforms, and it's not as far-fetched as it used to be. And with crypto, we're already seeing the same thing. People are requesting to build a site for the next Bitcoin or something like that. And that's not so far-fetched these days either. So What's more likely, though, is that the majority of your clients are going to be more concerned with integrating the new tech with more traditional business channels. So you might have those crypto startups that they want a new website or they need help with marketing and things like that. They're not going to be asking you to contribute to development of their brand new cryptocurrency. They're going to be asking you for the same services that you've been providing for your clients all along. And you might have some crypto influencers who are doing the same thing, or maybe they want a membership site from you, which we'll talk about with the NFTs here in a little bit. And most people are just going to accept crypto as payments. Like I said, it's super secure transactions, really fast, low fees, things like that. I mean, these cryptocurrencies are becoming universal. You don't have to worry as much about offering different countries' currencies and stuff like that, because a lot of these are universal. So a lot of businesses are really just going to want to be able to accept these as payments on their websites. And then with NFTs, we have a few different purposes here. As digital artists start creating their NFTs, they may want websites and marketing services just like those new cryptocurrency creators want. They want help promoting their artwork, even if they're selling it on an existing marketplace. Personal branding and professional branding are really important these days. So online presence is continually important these days. They may not just want what their profile on that NFT marketplace offers them. They might want their own site. They can sell those NFTs directly through their site. They're going to be a presence. They're going to want their personal branding, just like any normal business. That being said, some people might see a greater opportunity in creating their own marketplace where they can let merchants submit and sell their own NFTs through that marketplace and take a commission for it. So NFTs are going to just get bigger, just like cryptocurrencies have. And it's nice to kind of get a corner on that market as people begin to need an online presence that facilitates that. NFTs unique identifiers also present an interesting opportunity for purchasing and verifying membership via NFT. We already mentioned that a little bit before when I was talking about different things that might come out of this, where you might be able to do event tickets or discounts across sites. There are already solutions for verifying membership via NFT, selling and verifying memberships. So we'll talk about some solutions for that here in a few minutes as well. So with that said, there are some solutions already out there. So you're probably going to be wondering, well, what are my options for integrating cryptocurrency in somebody's online store, or for helping someone set up that NFT marketplace that they want to create? And I'm going to go over a few of those with you now, so you already know like what's out there and you can start exploring. So as far as website solutions and hosting solutions go, WordPress and WooCommerce are going to still be the best solutions for a lot of these things. They offer the most versatility outside of completely custom development. You can use plugins to integrate Web3 technology just like you do and many other things like marketing. The runner-up would be Shopify, since it includes payment methods that support cryptocurrencies, but it doesn't have the ability to integrate NFT tech yet, so it's lagging a little bit behind that. And then you could always develop a site completely from scratch, but you'd have to learn a lot more about cryptocurrencies and NFTs in depth before you would be able to build those integrations from scratch. So you're going to have to get a lot more technical for that. I would say if you're already building websites on WordPress and WooCommerce, go ahead and stick with what you know, because it's going to be very useful to you. And now the shameless plug for my own product. Sorry, guys, I couldn't resist. Managed WordPress e-commerce hosting is the product that my team manages. And WooCommerce already built into it. It comes with a bunch of premium plugins for free. So I wanted to go ahead and mention that for you today, that it's an option. You can go to godaddy.com/hosting/ecommerce-hosting, or I will share a link with you later on the resources slide if you wanted to check out like what all that has to offer and what comes with it, because it's a really good solution if you are looking to do WordPress and WooCommerce, especially if you don't want to manage all of the hosting aspects of it, or you just want sites super fast. So one solution for accepting crypto payments. Oh, thanks, Marcus. Looks like Marcus has shared the link for us already. So go ahead and check out the chat if you were looking for that. So if you're just looking to accept crypto payments on WordPress and WooCommerce, even easy digital downloads and a few others, My Crypto Checkout is pretty popular for that, and the pricing is really simple. Right now, they let you process 5 transactions per month for free, and then they only charge $59 a year for unlimited monthly transactions. So that's pretty nice. There are no individual transaction fees. And if this is just a matter of your client saying, hey, I want to accept crypto on my site now, this is an easy way to do that. Cryptocurrency product for WooCommerce is one that kind of caught my eye since I helped manage the Managed WordPress e-commerce product. We deal with integrating new features, new types of products and things like that all the time. So this one actually lets you create a product where you will sell cryptocurrency like Ether or Bitcoin and NFTs for any cryptocurrency or government issued currency that can be accepted through your WooCommerce store. So Beth is busy checking her Bitcoin balance. So if you're looking to sell crypto through your site, this is the way to do it. The same creator has complementary plugins. The pricing gets kind of complex. They have a lot of different options for paying monthly or the different options that they have with their plugins. So I would say go check that out and look through all the options before you make a selection because it gets a little complicated here. I couldn't even list off all the pricing options for you for this plugin, but it's really neat that it allows you to sell crypto through your website. Tatum is one that was mentioned in one of our GoDaddy blog articles. So that's one that I recommend to you as well. It's actually a blockchain development platform, but this is their WordPress plugin where they allow you to sell NFT as an individual creator. It's not a good solution for a multi-vendor NFT marketplace because they only let admins mint NFT. So your users can't then, create an account and then mint their own NFT because they won't be admins. So this is not the solution for your multi-vendor marketplace. It is only the solution if you want to sell crypto NFT through your site yourself. It supports multiple cryptocurrencies here. So that one is a good one. Next is WP Smart Contracts, which was mentioned in that same blog article, which I will be getting a link to you later. This one is the one that you would be using if you want to create an NFT marketplace and take commission for the sale of NFTs. So if your client is asking you to help them create a marketplace, this is the one you're going to do it. We didn't really go over what smart contracts are, but those are basically just where the transaction is recorded in the blockchain. That's what they call the contract. So this plugin will help you create those, and it has settings that you can choose to create that marketplace. Marcus. The pricing gets a little bit complex with this as well. They have different flavors, which are basically different types of smart contract, and also depending on which crypto network is used, because they will all have different prices for different things. So you'll have to check that one out as well and see what your options are there. Unlock Protocol is one that I found through a podcast that Marcus shared with me the other day as we were looking into this topic, because like most of you, I had to brush up a little bit. I didn't know everything and I still don't. But Unlock looks really cool because this is how you will verify membership on your site through NFTs. It's basically a way to monetize your content by deciding which content is going to be shown to membership people with membership. It basically allows them to purchase an NFT as membership, and it issues them that unique key that your site will check for every time they visit. But in order for this to work, they either have to have a Web3 wallet and they'll need a balance of crypto in that wallet in order to purchase the membership, or they need to be using like a browser like Opera that has built-in Web3 wallet there. So as long as they have their key and it's valid, which you can invalidate a key later, and there are a lot of technical details that you can get into with that. But then as long as they have that valid key, they have access to your exclusive content. this plugin comes with a Gutenberg block that you can use to show that content, or you can even lock an entire page so that the only thing that shows for that page is the excerpt. And then as long as you have membership, the content of the page. And that was the last solution that I have to share with you today. I will say as a disclaimer that I have not used any of those myself, so really speak to their effectiveness, but we have had people that we trust have used those and recommend them. And a lot of them have higher ratings on WordPress.org. So I would recommend those out, just see what works for you. Now onto the future. So what does the future hold for you as a web designer or developer? A few of the opportunities that are a lot around niching down, which we talk a lot about in the web design and development industry, and improving your business processes as well. But there are obvious opportunities in design and development. After you've built a few sites using Web3, you might decide to niche down into just Web3. You might decide that in making those integrations for people, you know, with cryptocurrency, NFT, any of that, that's what you want to specialize in, or you might even want to niche down even further into the NFT marketplaces. That when people talk about niching down, they talk about all of these different niches you can fit into. There are already a lot of people providing those solutions. So these are some new doors that are opening. If you find that your market's a bit saturated, you might decide to delve into one of these and be one of the first people doing it. Blockchain also opens up a lot of opportunities to change your business processes in more ways than just accepting new forms of payment. Like you might want to decide that you accept crypto in exchange for web designer development as well. But there's also speculation that it could be used to sign and authenticate legal documents in the future. So you might be sending your proposals and having those signed and authenticated using blockchain technology as well. It could be NFT. You could use NFTs to allow access to materials or services that you only provide to paying clients. So when we're talking about things like the membership site that can be verified through NFT, you might do something similar with your training videos and tutorials. You know, you might do something similar with your care plans and only allow access to certain things, or only verify valid membership to certain services through NFT in the future. And then I decided to talk about design and development a little bit last because opportunities are a little more obvious. As cryptocurrency, NFTs, things like that become more prevalent, there's a need for themes and templates and things like that to be created for those. I've already seen a ton of cryptocurrency website themes and templates, but I haven't seen as many for NFTs and NFT marketplaces. So there's a huge opportunity there. And then there's also a huge opportunity to develop the plugins that are needed to enable Web3 technology. So if you're a person who really likes to code, you're way into that development and everything, we really need people creating more of these plugins like the ones I mentioned, and those that maybe perform other functions that aren't covered yet, to come and build those for those of us who don't want to code that ourselves. I am one of those people. I don't want to code that myself. So somebody please come and create it. We need a lot more options out here to be able to integrate Web3 with our websites. All right, here are those resources that I shared with you. Whoop, that's my bad. I've got one that's showing in the wrong color. I hope that's okay. But we can also share these links out with you later too, but this resource page will be available to you later. All right, Marcus, I think we can do Q&A now.
It's, magically pop back in. Yeah, you answered some along the way. If anybody else has any questions, please go ahead and add them into the chat, but I have a couple to get us started here while people think about some other ones. I saw on some of the slides about the different plugins and stuff that you found that you were recommending. I saw some installation numbers there. Would you say that those numbers are, you know, kind of early days or starting to pick up steam? Is this something, I guess the the question I'm trying to get answered there is when do people need to know about this? Is it still pretty early? Should people be, actively researching this tonight, this afternoon? Like where are we in the process of needing to know about all of this personally, and I guess when it comes to answering questions for clients and all of that?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think for cryptocurrency, it's not super early. We're already starting to see a lot of that happening, but with it being so the values being so variable and everything, I think a lot of people are not jumping on it just yet, but it's almost a better reason to start looking into it now, because when it takes off, it's going to take off fast. And I would say the same for NFT, because people are just now beginning to realize the opportunities for that and what it really means. If you are ahead of the game, that puts you in a lot better position, especially if you're a plugin developer and you can start creating integrations for these things. Um, Speaking to what you said about those numbers on the plugin installs, I think that actually has a lot to do with people not knowing they're out there. A lot of people don't know their options for integrating Web3 stuff with your website. That was what really interested me about this topic in the first place, was that I didn't know what options were out there. I wasn't aware people were creating plugins for this already, and I work in this industry. Like I'm developing, I'm creating products for this stuff and I didn't know that. So I think a lot of it's just awareness.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I feel like all the buzzwords are floating around and people are trying to decide whether or not to take it seriously. And I don't think it's going away. It's a matter of trying to wrap our heads around what part of it is the early adopter part and what part of it is where the future of the web is, and what that means for us as, you know, professionals building websites, and also just people trying to make sense of the internet and the world around us. Um,
Yeah, I think it
so
would
I
be a
guess,
really
yeah, go ahead.
interesting. Sorry, I was
No,
thinking it'd
it's
be a
fine.
really interesting test if you just erected a landing page saying that you offer, development of an NFT marketplace or something, and see how much interest, how many requests you get on that page. Just a quick contact form or something like that, and then you can kind of see what the demand is like out there for it.
Yeah, Beth said just one more level of complexity to have to learn about. Yeah,
Yeah, true.
I understand. I definitely understand that from a, running client services point of view. It's one more thing to add to the toolbox that you inevitably have to know about, even if you don't offer a whole lot. Carrie asked, any thoughts on the future of crypto in the face of world issues such as war in Ukraine, the increase of web attacks? I guess maybe some underlying question there is with security surrounding crypto and stuff. Do you, in your research and stuff, did you find out some about? I know you talked a little bit about how it decreases fraud, but how secure is all of that? I guess being decentralized.
Yeah, so I was actually just reading something about crypto end of things and how people had been referring to it as more of a commodity, something like gold that would be more stable during things like the war in Ukraine and stuff like that. And it's actually taken a hit. So it's not immune to those things, right? So it's actually, as far as investment in stocks are concerned, it's a lot more like tech. So looking at this, and we're talking about security and vulnerability and the increase of web attacks, I would say that it's just as susceptible as anything else, as long as you're not keeping up with the tech. So that's why I was reading with some of these plugins and everything, you have to keep up with updates as the technology updates to mitigate these things, right? You still have to worry about that. It's security is, I would say, better with blockchain transactions as far as cryptocurrency goes, but when you're integrating anything into a website, you always have to stay on top of that. So I would say it's still just as much of a problem as it would be with anything else. At least that's my 2 cents.
Yeah. Let's see. Michael asked in the Q&A, I want to accept crypto for all products I resell for you guys on my site. Is this now possible?
Oh, that is an excellent question. So you're talking about the reseller, right, Michael? Can I get a confirmation on that? Yeah. So
Yes, he says yes.
yeah, so that is actually not possible currently, though. I would say, like, as a tech company, we've obviously looked into accepting crypto payments, for GoDaddy, but that would potentially translate over to reseller as well. I'm not involved in that process, so I don't know, what kind of research they're looking at or what they've looked into as far as partnerships go or solutions and things like that. With it not translating directly, or at least most cryptocurrencies don't translate directly to like government issued currency and things like that, it becomes really hard to accept crypto for anything at this size, the size of a large corporation, unless we wanted to come out with our own cryptocurrency, which we have not done yet, like Facebook and Microsoft have. It's kind of a difficult question. The people who make our business decisions company wide to answer. So it could take us quite a while to offer that both for our own site and for our resellers.
Yep, for sure. Let's see what else we have. So I guess looping back around to offering services for clients, where should people start, I guess, if they are interested and want to? I mean, a landing page, like you said, is probably a good way just to gauge some interest, but let's say there is some interest. Do you start with NFTs and some kind of marketplace? Do you start with accepting cryptocurrencies for, the products already being sold on sites? Where's a good place to start, do you think, for offering these sorts of services?
So I'm going to say start with the cryptocurrency. That's been around longer than the NFTs, and there are more solutions for it. And it's also sort of it's an easier segue into all of the rest of the Web3 technologies. So that's exactly where I would start. I would start by trying to accept cryptocurrency on an online store as the very first thing, and just see how that fares for you.
Nice. There's some conversation. Beth says, unless I can tip the local bartender with it, I'm not all that interested. And Michael shared that you can get their BTC address. I'm just imagining all of us walking around with like a QR code on our shirts at all times. It's just like, scan this to give me money.
Yeah, absolutely. That would be hilarious. Actually, I think what I would really like to see most of all, I would like to see something like what you were talking about with, event tickets and NFTs and offering discounts on merchandise. I would like to see GoDaddy do something with GoDaddy Open, where maybe we issue an NFT and we allow people a discount on GoDaddy.com for attending our event. That would be really awesome if we could do something like that. Obviously, I'm not an event organizer and I don't run anything with that, but I would be so happy. I would just be so happy to see something like that.
Yeah, that would be very cool. Yeah, I guess we can hang there for just a moment and talk about that. So you and I talked a little bit about maybe some of the future of NFTs being more popular once there's some utility attached to it, rather than just being selling the ownership of an image that's easily copy pasted from place to place, like the Nyan Cat and the Twitter screenshot that you had in the presentation there.
Yep.
Um, yeah, I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about that. The I guess the benefit there is you would get something that says that you own the NFT and that gives you that discount, but then you have the potential from there to, I guess, sell that. You could still sell that
Mhm.
NFT to somebody else, and then that person would assume the benefits of that NFT. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's exactly right.
So I can definitely see place for that. I think there was maybe it was in that podcast episode that I shared where they were talking about maybe WordCamps doing that same kind of thing, where if you register for a WordCamp and go, you'd get an NFT, and that opens up some kind of utility possibility, but then you can give away or sell that to other people, and that way those benefits just keep transferring from person to person.
Yeah, and I think the fear on like on one end of that would be that someone would use that discount and then transfer it to someone else who would then use that discount as well. But there are so many ways on the issuer's end to limit how that's used on their own site. You know, it could be a one-time use thing where after that NFT has been verified and the discount has been used, that NFT is then invested on through the site. It can say that we no longer accept this NFT specifically. So that being said, then you have to worry about issues where you legitimately purchase that NFT from someone else, and it's basically like purchasing a used gift card.
Yeah, that's
So
true.
it raises a lot more questions, which is one of the points I think Beth was getting at, is that it increases the complexity, but then it makes a lot of other things easier. Like I know when we were in GoDaddy Pro community before, when we were talking about community rewards and things like that, it would be really cool if we could issue NFT for attendance to events like this, and then you could accumulate community points for that just by automatically verifying that NFT on our community site. It would be really something like that. But yeah, it does raise the complexity, so it's interesting.
Yeah, no argument about the complexity, but as far as I know, right, that whole ownership trail is tracked as well. And so
Yeah.
one, you can build in those things where, like you said, maybe this particular discount can only be used once or 3 times or whatever. So once it's right, it's tracking that whole trail so it can see whether it's been used multiple times or not, or tried to be used multiple times. And then
Yep.
unlike, I guess, buying a used gift card, there's that trail of who you got the NFT from,
Yes.
before you. So if you try to use that discount and it says it's already been used, you can go back and be like, hey, you sold me a. Who's to say what happens to that? I don't know. There's nobody there's nobody enforcing refunds or anything like that, I suppose. But it's a little bit easier to track where it came from.
Yeah,
Say, hey,
for sure.
why'd you sell me this digital used gift card?
Yeah, so Beth is still
Yeah.
she's kind of having a hard time getting her head around the practical applications, which I completely understand because,
Yeah.
I was right there with you, Beth, but I really suggest reading that blog article and listening to or reading through the recap of that podcast that we're sharing with you, because those really cleared up a lot of things for me. And then I just kind of jumped down the rabbit hole and started exploring things on my own, and I started thinking of practical applications on my own. So I think that that would probably help out a lot. It feels like geeky people are making something geeky for the sake of it being geeky. Yeah, Beth, I
Yeah.
agree with you there. I was just telling Marcus at the beginning that when Bitcoin came out and everything, I was super skeptical. I'm like, oh, this is a fad and it's going to be over in a few years. And why bother even buying Bitcoin? And I was so wrong.
I 100% agree with that sentiment, Beth. I do feel the same way. That we keep harping on it. That podcast episode, I think, was the first thing that I had listened to that sort of made something click, where I could see how, despite all the complexity, there were some practical applications that would be possible, both online and in the real world, um, based on NFTs and proving ownership and all of that.
Yeah, absolutely. Michael Del Bosque shared a link to a website here, which is really cool. And I'm going to be checking that out a little more later as well. But this is exactly the kind of thing that I'm talking about being able to build for your clients too. If you
What
check out the bubble house that he shared in chat.
cool. Yeah, I can include a link to that as well when we share out the event.
Yeah, because it's a really good example. Anthony mentioned the Flyfish Club in
Mm-hmm.
chat as well. To me, that seems it's a controversial application of NFT as membership because it's essentially a restaurant membership. I mean, I think that's a I mean, it's a good application of it, but it feels exploitative to me. I don't know why. Maybe I'm just old. But I feel like also, on the other hand, things like this have always existed. There have always been restaurants and other, other businesses that are only accessible by paying a membership fee, sometimes exorbitant. So maybe it's just a digital way to do.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. It seems like that's to some degree been done, but this is just the digital version. Sorry, I'm trying to on the fly look up that podcast episode because we've had a couple of questions in the chat about a link to it, and we've talked about it a lot, so I'm trying to grab it real quick.
So here's the resource slide, and I don't think it'll let me click on it.
That's right, I
In
found
this
it.
mode. Okay. It's by Do the Woo.
Yep.
So you probably hear some voices that you recognize already on that podcast there. And Chris Carfey shared a site that I think he owns about NFTs as well that goes in depth. If you're interested in NFT, he kind of goes
Follow
more
the
in depth
trail
on
all the
that.
way down.
Oh yeah, and I started to follow that trail too. So I'm definitely going to be watching a lot more videos over the coming weeks about that. I'm super interested in NFT for digital art myself. I don't really do digital art, but I've always been interested in it. So that's the part that's going to suck me in. Even though I say start with crypto, because that's the easy way in, I think I'm a lot more interested in NFT myself. Eugene, yeah, this is being recorded. We're going to be sharing the recording afterward as well.
Yep. Awesome. I don't have any more questions, so I can probably go ahead and wrap us up. Let me see, I'll post one other link in the chat. We do have a GoDaddy Community Pro topic for this particular event, so we can take the conversation there and keep it going. And otherwise, I will go ahead and wrap us for this one. Thanks everyone for joining us today. Before we go, next week we actually aren't going to have our usual Wednesday meetup. We're taking a week off to enjoy some spring break time here in the US with our families, and so we will be skipping our usual Wednesday meetup. However, we do have a WordPress testing session on Monday, March 14th at 3 p.m. Eastern, where Courtney Robertson will test creating headers using full site editing with anyone that wants to join. That's going to be actually a Zoom session, so people can join and ask questions and participate there. And that will be recorded, but only for development purposes, and a replay will not be available for that afterwards. But feel free to join us there. To register for that or any other future events, head to events.godaddy.com. And you can also see any past event replays there or on our GoDaddy Pro YouTube channel. That's it for this one. Thanks again, Angela, for joining us and talking all about the future of the web and commerce.
Yeah, thank you. I enjoyed it.
Awesome. Thank you all for joining us here in the chat and at the event, and we will see you at the next meetup. Bye-bye, everyone.